Welcome to the Cookies and Coffee podcast. My name is Cale Owen.
And my name is Maggie Owen. I am the VP of Operations and Cale is the CEO. And together we run 2 8-figure businesses and we are in the middle of building a startup.
And this podcast is to document our journey as high-level executives, as parents, and as husband and wife, so that we can share what's working for us, what we found that doesn't work, lessons, tips, and tricks, so that if you are married and working together or want to do that, you can learn from what has worked for us and for many other people so that you can have an incredible marriage, an incredible business, and an incredible life.
What's up, girl?
Hi.
Let's talk about boundaries today.
Let's do it.
We were recording this about a week after the whole Jonah Hill thing.
Yeah.
So by the time this gets out, this is going to be very old news. But at the same time, it brings up a really good topic about boundaries in relationships and everything else. So let's talk about this. So I have the text pulled up. So if you're unfamiliar with this, Jonah Hill, the actor, had a text exchange where he laid out some boundaries that he wants to have inside of a relationship with his now ex-girlfriend. And this is before, obviously, being with the person he's with, who apparently is pregnant, I think. I don't know. I'm not into all that stuff. I think she's pregnant or they just had a kid. I don't know. We're not on the tab. We're not up to date with all the tabloids and all that stuff. But his ex decided to post the pictures of the tweets, or post the pictures. She tweeted, or no, on Instagram, her Instagram stories, she posted pictures of the text
to her.
Yep. Yeah. And here's what it said. Plain and simple. If you need surfing with men, boundaryless, inappropriate friendships with men, to model, to post pictures of yourself in a bathing suit, to post sexual pictures, friendships with women who are in unstable places and from your wild recent past beyond getting a lunch or coffee or something respectful. I am not the right partner for you. If these things bring you to a place of happiness, I support it, and there will be no hard feelings. These are my boundaries for a romantic partnership. My boundaries with you based on the ways these actions have hurt our trust.
And he's getting slammed.
Oh, yeah. Well, slammed and not. There's a whole list of people that obviously are not slamming him, but there's also a whole bunch of people immediately. So she labeled him immediately narcissistic, misogynistic, a whole bunch of other stuff. But the main thing was everyone's super quick to label a man narcissistic. And it's very interesting. I think there's some obviously context to both sides. Some would say it's on a spectrum. The aspect of apparently, because I don't know anything about her, but apparently she was already modeling, I guess, and already a surfer. So that doesn't make sense to me to ask someone who was already doing that when you got in the relationship. But regardless of that, let's talk about the boundary aspect.
Yeah.
I see nothing wrong with setting up boundaries in relationships.
No, not at all. There should be boundaries in relationships.
Yeah, there absolutely should be.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts coming from the female side?
Well, first, it was super respectful. It was very respectful in a way of these are what my boundaries are. And if you don't want to conform into those, and that's okay.
And he said, I fully support you.
Right.
Which is totally fine.
Yeah.
It's just not what he wants in a romantic partnership.
Yeah. I think there's probably a lot that went into this, beforehand. It's maybe they got started in a relationship and he didn't know he wanted these boundaries. And so this is why it came up after. I think the biggest thing is these are important things to talk through before you get into a relationship together, is talking through what those boundaries are, what the expectations are from one another. So there's no surprises on either side.
Yep. What are some of the boundaries that we have?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Some of them I think we spoke about, and some of them were kind of unspoken, kind of just happened over time with owning a gym together, which can be definitely seen as a very personal, close relationship type of community with people of the opposite sex. Mm-hmm. I think the first one being is we don't have, one of the big ones that we always respect is we don't have conversations with the opposite sex via text message.
Yep.
And that's just, and not that we don't trust one another, because I 100% trust you, and I think that you 100% trust me. Mm-hmm. And so it's not a trust thing at all. It's just a respectful thing. And also, we have a saying of we want to always be above reproach. We want to leave no doubt at all costs. So why would we ever put ourselves in a situation? And it could not even be me. It could be the other person, mm-hmm. right? It's you just never want to be put in that position. So we just eliminate any opportunity to be put in that position. And so I think that's a big one. It's if we have to text someone one of our like our couple friends, we text in a group chat. Like if for some reason I have to text the male for whatever reason, I do it in a group chat setting with the wife and you all in the group chat setting. Like our close friends we're in group chats with. Like we don't have separate chats with the male and the female separately.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting. I think there's a lot of people that are going to listen to this because there's going to be clips, I'm sure, on social media about this. And they're going to say how unhealthy this relationship is and how little we trust each other, which I get a lot. Like Mike Pence, the VP, former VP, he had this thing where he was never in the same room with a woman alone.
Yeah.
And people like nailed him for it because they made it seem it's like you're not being in the same room because what are you going to try to like screw her? Like what are you going to try to take advantage of her? Like what you think the woman is going to try to do it as well? Like are you always thinking about sex? And it goes well beyond that. It goes back to the above reproach. You never want to put yourself in that situation. And what's interesting is that women get taken advantage of so much in the world. I'm going to say there's a caveat though. Women also lie about being taken advantage of in certain instances. And if you put yourself in certain positions, this is for the men, if you put yourself in a position, you potentially could be taken advantage of, especially if you are someone who makes a lot of money, is super successful, and is out there. But for the majority of the time, women get taken advantage of. And number one, you don't want to put yourself in that position. And men, you definitely don't want to put yourself in that position, especially if you are dating someone or married, period.
Exactly. And it's like, even if it didn't happen and you know it's not true, just the look of it to your significant other is so difficult and hard.
Yep.
It's like, why would you even want to put them through that? Even if we know it's not true and there's still trust, it's like, why would we even want to have to go through that? If we could just eliminate it altogether, why would we not do everything we can to make sure that we never put ourselves in a compromising situation?
Yeah, there's this, one of my favorite sayings is learned from a buddy of mine, Mike RC. And that is there's three types of people in the world, right? There's stupid people, there's smart people, and there's geniuses. Stupid people just keep making the same mistakes over and over again. Smart people, they make a mistake once, like touch the stove, burn it, don't do it again. Geniuses learn from the mistakes of all the other people. And I take that to heart because, especially in this scenario, because it's so easy to fade. It's like a slow fade and it's a slide. You don't just like wake up one day and you're just like, cool, I'm going to cheat on my spouse today. Can't wait. First girl, I'm going to hook up with her. It's like, that's not how it happens. It starts with a look. It starts with a smile. It moves to a text or a DM. Then it moves to coffee, lunch, meetup, hookup, whatever.
Yep.
Or it starts with a download of an app. Like it doesn't just, and it starts with just like, I'm just having conversations. Or
A like of a picture.
Like of a picture, right?
Yeah.
And then sliding into the DM. Like that's how it starts. And it's a slow fade consistently. And so I remember I was 15 to 17 years old and I was going to a Bible study. We called it literally called the Upper Room, and it was at Jack Russell Stadium in Clearwater, Florida, with a hodgepodge of just crazy bunch of different dudes. Former professional baseball players, current professional baseball players, guys going through rehab that I'm not even going to name that were major stars in the major leagues, with a whole bunch of just random guys from Hell's Angels that were there, guys that used to run drugs, guys that had never done that, guys that were virgins when they met their wife, right? And what was interesting is that several of the men had gone through infidelity in their marriages, and they all said the same thing. They all said that it always started with something that was super small that didn't mean anything to them, but then over time, when they spent more time on it and they spent more time with the other person, that it led into that, and all of them regretted it. Not a single person was like, it led me to the person that I love. Every single person said they regretted it. And I was like, I'm sitting there 15 to 17-year-old, and I'm like, and they're crying over this. These are grown men crying over this. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, this sounds terrible. It sounds like it sucks. It sounds like not only like you didn't really have that much fun, because everyone else in the world is like, sex is fun or cheating is fun and affairs are adventurous, and they are. That's why it's alluring, because it's something new.
Yep.
But it's like they learned through that because they didn't set the boundaries and they didn't have the answer already when that time came up, meaning that they had not thought about that situation coming up prior to it ever presenting itself.
Yep.
And so when that situation came up and the opportunity came up, they were like, oh, sure, yeah. What's the harm? What's the harm?
Yeah.
Like, I'll shoot a text. We'll have coffee. I'm not doing anything. Like, we're not having sex. We didn't kiss. We didn't do any of this. And it's like, it's a big deal. And like, transparently for us, like, we both were cheating on the people we were dating
Yeah.
when we met. So like, it definitely happens.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely happens.
And it started with a look.
It started with
And
a
then
look.
it's sex.
Yep. It literally
Right? And
started.
it just keeps going.
Yep. Because we didn't do anything for a long time.
Yep.
It literally started with a look, then a text, then a hug, didn't see each other, and then we cheated on the people that we were with.
Yeah.
Granted, mine was like not even close to really dating. I can't
my
really call
gosh.
this dating, but at the same time. And so it's definitely not right. But like at the same time, but this is also why it's so important, in my opinion, to have those boundaries.
Yeah. I think it's like even, there's definitely our relationship wasn't built on like a trustful foundation,
No.
right? It's like if you go into that both dating other people and coming in, like you're automatically coming into a relationship of like, oh, this person could be doing this with another person
Yep.
outside of this relationship. Like if this is how we got into our relationship, then that's probably how they will get into the next relationship.
Yeah.
This is different for you. This is how I mainly got into all of my relationships because didn't know how to have hard conversations, wasn't open, didn't know how to communicate, and I knew you were a lot different, and we're very good at communicating early on. But I think it was really important for us to set boundaries, to block people out, the people that we had to out of our life. Like you did a really good job at that. You've always been like that, where it's like as soon as you break up, yeah, you joke like they're dead to you. But you've kind of lived like that. It's like once we're no longer together, like what is the point of having a relationship on with them? Like there's no just being friends after that. And so I was the opposite. I stayed friends usually with a lot of my exes, but I quickly realized like, oh, like we can't do that. Like that's not right. Like why would I stay friends? Like what's the point of staying friends with somebody? And then I started looking at it from the lens of like, well, how would I feel if you stayed friends with someone that you had slept with and is now your ex? Like that would feel terrible. I would hate that. So why would I do the same thing to you? And I think a lot of the times, like I hear so often, this is like shifting gears a little bit, but I hear so often it's like, oh, well, I can just look at this girl. I can just look at this guy, or look how good looking this person is, or look how good looking this person is. And it's like, why would I look at someone and think that they're attractive? Like, why would I actively go out of my way to try to look at attractive people when I would be so hurt if you did the same thing?
Yeah. It's okay to notice people.
Right.
Right? Like
Yeah.
we actually talked about this the other day. You're like, yeah, it's 100% okay because there are beautiful people in the world.
Yep.
But it's like, are you going out of your way to do that?
Right. Are you actively trying? Like, are you following on social media all these chicks in bikinis all the time? Like all these models just to look at them? Like what value is that bringing to your life? It's just leading you astray of like, oh, I can keep looking. So when it comes up in real life and you see someone, you want to keep looking at it.
Mm-hmm. It's a muscle. It gets trained. And it becomes habitual. And it also becomes like, and this is also the issue with porn too, is like it becomes a thing where you just see other people on both sides. Cause like porn is a massive problem on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Like it is like for women and for men. But it's slightly different, I think, on either side. But at the same time, it degrades that area for us where we see the other person as still a human because it's still not a human when we're watching something. Right. And like, it tears that down to a point. And a lot of people are like, yeah, it's nothing. It's just porn or whatever. But like it's study after study after study after study after study continues to show that it is not good for us at all.
Well,
like,
desensitizes us a ton just in general. And then if you bring it into a relationship too, like desensitizes the relationship so much too.
Yep. And again, for context for everyone, like we're talking about this and boundaries, and we'll get a little bit deeper into this, but boundaries specifically in a relationship.
Yep.
Like if you're single, like I don't care. Like you just do. You probably should not go out there and sleep around because you're not going to be fulfilled. Just did a piece of content on this. Like you're not going to be fulfilled from the guy side. Like you may think you are and you may pat yourself on the back and be like, cool, it's a chase. I want to be a hunter and I want to go after women. I'm alpha male, all this stuff. Or still living in your mom's basement. And you're listening to Andrew Tate, like cool, go for it. Like if that's what you want to do, you'll end up going down the road. And I've seen this countless times. The guys that do this, they just are empty. They are absolutely empty. And whether you want to believe it or not, go through that experience if you have to, but you will find at the end that there is nothing fulfilling at the end. It can be fun, I'm sure. But at the end of the day, like, cool, okay, you sleep with a lot of women. Then you sleep with multiple women at the same time. Then you sleep with lots of women at the same time. And then it's like, cool, at what point is it fun? Like at what point is like, now you need something new again.
Yep.
Now you need it new. And nothing is going to satisfy you. Andrew Tate even talks about this right now. He's like, cool, like sex is sex. Like it is what it is. He's like, he loves the game of business. Like the same guy that's out there talking about all this stuff is the same guy who's talking about how he's like, yeah, sex is sex. It is what it is. So, boundaries. Yeah, I think boundaries, I mean, we have our texting. Same thing with like social media, like DMing or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because like I'll get DMs from like a lot of guys. Also, by the way, I don't need someone to do my content, just as a heads up. So if you're DMing me trying to do my videos, you don't need to at all. I don't need it. I have a team. They're exceptional. They're doing it. But like I'll get some from women and I either ignore them or I got one from the other day. And it was a woman on the one that I posted about my mom. And it was about her going through the struggle and basically being totally okay with it. And she sent a whole story of her daughter who went through the same thing. She had liver failure. And it was this whole story of her daughter was going through this massive struggle. And every time she was telling her mom, I love you, Mom. You're the best mom. I wouldn't take this away right now. I'm learning so much. And she's now better. And she sent me that story. And I said, that's amazing. Your daughter sounds incredible. But like, that's it. I leave it at that. Right? There's like no further action to be taken.
Yeah. You don't leave a door open, like a window opportunity open.
Ever.
Yeah.
Like ever. And also you have full access to my phone anyway. Like if you wanted to, like, it doesn't really matter. Like it's not like we don't have that. So
yeah, our lives are very interconnected.
Very. Just happens to be that way since we obviously work and we do so much together.
Yeah.
Anyway, which is interesting because I think if we didn't, like I look at it wouldn't change whether we did or didn't. What I think is interesting is the relationships and the married people where one person is working all the time and they have their like work wife or work husband, right? I hate that term. I know we both do. And then you like the other one stays at home or does another job, right? Because you spend so much time with other people.
Yep.
Like we have friends, close friends, and they have an incredible relationship. And we feel for them sometimes because like they talked about they went on a vacation and they were 6 hours in the car and they're like, this is the most amount of time we've spent at one time, in one continuous amount of time in what?
In a week.
In a week.
Yeah.
And it was like
1 week. 6 hours in a car together is more time than they spend in an entire week.
Yes, entire week together.
Yeah. Because of their jobs and current state of life.
And they have an incredible relationship.
Yep.
And it's just different things for different people. But at the end of the day, you definitely still have to have those boundaries.
Yeah. But I think, and that's where it's like if you start spending time with somebody in the workspace and you start joking about, your work wife or your work husband, it's like that's not it's like it starts out small, right? It starts as a joke, right? And like, let's say you then go on a business trip together, right? And then it just like, then you get a little closer and you get a little closer. Like it starts with one thing and it just like leaves the door open for opportunity in the future, which is something that you and I actively always make sure that there are no opportunities. Yep. And again, it's not that we don't trust each other, because we do 100%. It's just that we never want to ever put ourselves in a position where there ever even could be an opportunity.
Yep. It's not worth it.
No.
I think the best way to do that though is to have the conversations around them.
Yeah.
It goes back to kind of the cheat codes in a sense, but it's like cheat codes around boundaries or expectations it all comes down to like the expectations within the relationship. And you both have to be on the same page. I don't see relationships doing very well if one person is like, no, I want to be able to do that, while the other one's like, no, like that's not right. That's not going to work.
Yep.
Because there's going to be very little trust across the board.
Yep.
And you have to be, either way, you have to be very open and transparent about what's happening and what you want and need. And they both have to align.
Yeah. And I remember like early on, both of us, when we were on a little bit different fitness journeys, trying to like get super shredded and be super strong. We both would post a lot of like before pictures and like transformation pictures, separately. And, the accomplishment is great, but it's also like, why do we have to put that on social media and let people look at us half naked? And so just like over time, it's something that unless we're in a picture together, like in bathing suits together.
Like we were just in Costa Rica.
Right.
Yep.
We'll post those together, but like individually, it's like, I don't need validation from the internet or from anybody else. Like I have validation for myself and from you. And so why would I leave an opportunity open for people for the opposite sex to comment on the physique that I have or the physique that you have? And so I think that's like something too, just like over time, like we don't post half naked pictures of ourselves on the internet, because that opens up the door. It's telling people that you are open.
Yep.
By doing that.
If you're not in business, don't advertise.
Right. Which I think it's so interesting, because I think a lot of females are like, it's my body, this whole like, feminism movement. It's like my body, I do what I want with it. But like, and this is probably be a super unpopular opinion, but I like at the end of the day, when you get married to someone and from like a biblical sense, and like we are both believers and Christians and we believe in God and Jesus, like, no, we became one. So like my body is your body and your body is my body. Like we are one now together. Like it is not just my own. It is ours together as one. And so many people I think forget that. One, probably, you know, they likely don't have faith, but it's like, it's not just yours. Like you are in this partnership with somebody else and it is both of you, not just you.
Yep. I know. And what's funny is like, from my standpoint, I have so much more respect for you because of that. Like if you did post a picture, I'd be like, man, you look amazing.
I know you wouldn't.
I wouldn't even care at all, like at all.
But I don't like it when you do it, so I don't do it.
I know. And there's a massive amount of respect. And I also have not and don't for a long time because, and I won't moving forward because it's pointless. Like what does it matter?
Right. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. What else?
I don't know, I feel like those are kind of like our main boundaries. I know like early on, and these are for like the people in business together in the fitness space, like early on, when it was just you in the gym before I came into the gym, we used to like our onboarding structure was one-on-one personal training.
Yeah.
To get a client started in their onboarding journey with us. It was like 12 one-on-one personal training sessions. And so you used to take all of those. And early on, the area that we opened up our gym in was a lot of like stay-at-home moms that would come out and work out with you that were like fit, good looking, wealthy, like I want to work out and okay, well, I think that anyway. This is why I love you so much. Never made me doubt myself. But you would never have a one-on-one session with them if nobody else was in the gym. So you would never schedule the training session if there was never another coach in the gym, a class session going on. Like you would never be alone in the gym. Or
even when we started in the baseball spot.
Yeah.
If I was going to do it, it was going to be when there was other people in the baseball when we were subleasing from there as well.
And again, that's just because you never want to put yourself, and I know that you never did that because you weren't doing that because you didn't trust yourself. It's like not start a relationship with this person, but it was just a respect thing for me to not be alone with this female who's half naked trying to get fit. And most of the time, you know, for any fitness coaches out there, like you end up becoming therapists too. Like you hear their life stories, you hear about affairs people are having or like the broken marriages, people are getting divorced. Like you hear about so much. Like people just dump everything on you and you're like in such this vulnerable state. It's like, it's so easy. You hear about so many, and it's sad, like mainly in the CrossFit space, you hear a lot of people like they start going to this CrossFit gym and then they end up sleeping with a member at the gym because they like create this bond through like tough workouts, camaraderie, time spent together. Everyone's getting fit. They look better naked. And now all of a sudden, you know, they're cheating on their spouse. From that.
And they're receiving validation in that space that they may not be receiving at home.
Yeah.
Because there's also the insecurities at home with the spouse who's like, you're getting so fit, you're doing this. And the other person may have wanted to try to bring them along, but now they're not.
Yeah.
Man, I've seen so many marriages fall apart.
I know. It's so sad. But I think it's something that you did a really good job at early on. And it wasn't even something that we talked about. It was just something that you did because you loved me and wanted me to feel respected.
Yep. It's really key. And if you own a gym specifically, because this is our space, like we were gym owners and we work with gym owners now, is just be very careful, especially the men and the women, period, regardless. But like gym owners are predominantly male. So if you're in that situation, like you need to set boundaries. And it was great. There was a guy, he's not even married, and he sets boundaries with one of the gym owners. He's an incredible guy, incredible gym. And we were having a conversation and he was talking about a problem that came up and someone accused him of something, and he's got cameras everywhere in the gym. He's got all this stuff. And he's like, I got accused of this. And like, this definitely didn't happen. I've got recordings, I've got everything. And I make sure that I never train anyone alone that's a female, like any of this. Like I always make sure that there's someone else in the gym, all this stuff.
Because you never want to have accusations against you.
Yeah, because it can ruin a business. It can ruin your reputation. It takes one moment to ruin a reputation that you've built up for years. It takes one moment. And my question is like, is that one fleeting moment worth it? It's not. No. Like everyone's like, oh no, it feels great in the moment, or it's exciting or exhilarating.
Yeah.
But like when you come back down to earth, it can't be great. Like, cause I can't speak from experience, but like it can't be great. Like listening to going back to the stories that I've heard from people is like, you risk everything for this one person who hasn't even been through your whole story.
Yeah.
Hasn't been a part of your journey. and you risk everything that you have with this one person, whether it's good or bad, right? For this one moment. And then it's like everything is broken.
Yep.
Like you can remedy it and that's when repair starts to happen. You have to like recreate trust and work at it. But like you could have not done that, and it could have been you could have been genius and just learned from other people and not done it.
And just worked on the problems that were leading you to those things in the first place.
That's it. That's the problem though. People don't want to work on it. And it's so much easier today because of social media, because of the internet, because of the apps that are on our phone. It is so easy today to not have to work on it. And for the guys out there that are listening to this, my suggestion is, and this is not a popular opinion, if you want to be a man that is, I'm going to use the whole thing today, a high value, whatever. But if you want to be a man that can be trusted, loyal, and is actually someone that women want to be with, my suggestion is stop getting on Tinder, stop getting on dating apps, and stop using them as just this carousel of women that you sleep with. Because what it's going to do is it's going to ingrain this habit in you that you can always get someone new.
Yep.
And at some point that has to stop unless you want to live an unfulfilled life and just be this old dude who just tries to sleep with younger women. No one wants that because most of the time you're not going to have the money to be able to do it.
Yep.
So unless you're a billionaire, good luck. So break the habit now, because those habits that are put in place in your 18, 19, 20 in college, when everyone's like, oh, go have fun, those same habits still cross over.
Yep.
And they're very hard to break, which is also one of the reasons why you see still like marriage divorce rates skyrocketing.
Yep.
It's not getting any better, which is also why a lot of people now don't want to get married, which is logical in my opinion.
Yep.
I think it's logical. If I looked at the data too, and I'm someone and I'm not a believer, and I don't find you, right? I'm probably like, marriage really doesn't sound great.
Yeah.
Like
it doesn't make a lot of sense for most people.
I'm going to get screwed as a dude, right? Like most likely I'm going to get screwed, right? And I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to do all these things. And then whatever happens. And I'm giving half of my stuff away. And then maybe I can't see my kids if I have kids, or maybe I can. And then it's just this whole messy ordeal. And it's like, yeah, maybe marriage isn't great.
Yeah.
But man, it's awesome. When it's awesome, it's awesome.
If you know how to communicate, have those conversations.
Set the right boundaries.
Yeah. I'd say the thing too is like a lot of people nowadays, like you bring up like Tinder, and it's like, because everyone does think there's always like the next best thing. Like what is the next thing, right? Like what's that? It's almost like it's like getting high, right? It's a dopamine hit. Like 100%. What's the next?
It's a validation.
Who's the next thing, right? Who's the next person? And so even if someone gets into a relationship and maybe starts to like this person and wants to see where it goes, most of the time they're still trying to see, is there something better out there? Like no one ever just commits to one person to go all in with and like see where it takes them. So I think they're going to miss out on all these other opportunities. But I think there's like so much value in, let's go all in on this together, invest in one another and have the conversations. And I think that's the other thing too, is like people start dating and it's like so surface level for so long, right? Yeah. It's like, let's not talk about the hard stuff until like
tiptoeing around trying to show their best self,
right.
Trying to like show off and be, I'm so great at this, or I'm the perfect person, or whatever it is.
Yep. I saw a clip of someone I follow in the fitness space, and she talked about how her and her significant other, they got together and they were in different states, but they had met through like a mutual community, and they started talking. And so when they came to I think they did like a FaceTime date or something like that. And when they came, they both came with like a list of questions of like, what are your values? What do you want to do like long term? Like, what are your goals in life? Do you want to have kids? Like their very first date, it was like an interview. I think if like more people treated first dates like interviews, they'd probably have a higher success rate, because then you don't have to like deal with all the BS after. Like you're not trying to like weed through like, is this the right person? Do they align with me? You're not like surprised by stuff. Like you just go for the hard stuff in the beginning. And then if it's a match, sweet, like let's keep it going. And if it's not, it's like, great. You don't have to go you don't have to waste 2-3 weeks of your life trying to figure out if this person is the right fit for you.
100%. And what's funny is that I guarantee you more people would actually enjoy it. Because if you're going on your first date and like you're in there and you're just like, cool, what's your biggest fear?
Yeah. So go for the heavy hitting questions.
Instead of just this surface level, try to impress the other person, just start finding out stuff. Or be the first person to be like, what's your biggest fear? I'll start.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever it is, I don't know.
I was like, what do you like to do for fun?
No, screw that.
It's like, oh, go to a bar and have drinks. It's like, okay, well, that's probably where you met or where you're going to meet. It's like, what else is there? Like, get past the surface level stuff.
Yep. That's it.
That's all I got on boundaries. I think they're important to put into relationships. Mm-hmm. They're important to speak about.
Yes. And it's important to understand, like, so I want to go back to this one thing real quick. The world and culture will tell you that boundaries are
a trust issue, that it will make you, that's because you're insecure or because you lack a certain amount of trust, right? And that you don't trust the other person, all these things. That's complete for healthy relationships. Healthy relationships, that is complete BS. For unhealthy relationships, that's a completely different story. They're very controlling people.
Yeah.
There are true narcissists out there. There are true controlling people, true psychopaths, true individuals that will go out there and actually control. For healthy relationships, that is not something that is a problem. That in fact should happen. If we talk to people that are in relationships, number one, we don't spend time with people that don't have boundaries.
Yep.
Like we're like, what are your boundaries? Like if we meet someone and then the wife texts me, I'm like, what is going on right now?
Yeah.
Like,
we even like distance ourselves from people who they're married and like maybe they've never like cheated on one another, but like when you're with the dude, they talk about women, like how good looking other women are.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, we've distanced ourselves from those type of people too, because why do we want that in our lives?
Mm-hmm. I know. Because it's a slow fade. And this is what people don't understand. It's an ego. We all have an ego. We think that we are above it. We think that we are the exception to the rule, or that we are better than we actually are. And if we truly realize that we're not, and that if you looked around the world and you're like, oh shoot, there's a lot of people cheating. There's a lot of people lying. There's a lot of people angry. There's a lot of people fighting. There's a lot of people not communicating. If you think you're the exception to the rule, you're an idiot. And the world is full of idiots. Because all those people that are doing the same thing didn't think that day when they woke up that they were going to be that person.
Yep.
They didn't wake up thinking, nope, today's the day I'm going to cheat. Today's the day I'm going to hit this person. Today's the day I'm going to go out and do this. They didn't think that.
Yep.
It happened in the moment. And over time, habits led to that action. And so for most people, like if you're listening to this, like boundaries are healthy. They are not unhealthy. Like set them, but it has to be together. It cannot be one person's boundaries. It has to be agreed upon on both sides.
Yeah.
And
Then
if you
just
can't,
resentment.
yeah, and if you can't, then you probably shouldn't even be together.
Yeah.
So then you should have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
Cool. I feel like this was a good one.
I think so.
Well, it wasn't bad. All right. I love you.
I love you too.